Morning Line. Thanks for joining us. We are Building Lives. The name of an organization helps veterans make sure they stay on their feet. And what I like about the program, among other things, is it's not just those who are at that moment really in crisis, but also trying to help them before they fall into crisis, which is, because sometimes these families can be at high risk. Jeff Upton's with us. He's the executive director of the organization here in Middle Tennessee. Serves 11 counties, you said, I think, right? 11 counties. And also with us is Avery Powell, who is a veteran in the program. Thank you for coming on. And, we were talking during the break a bit about what he's transitioning to from the military to your program is almost like going to a platoon a bit, right? And it's the difference is, when you're in the military, maybe you guys explain it to me better. I mean, you're broken down and built up to serve their purposes in the military, which makes perfect sense. You have to be in a structure there. But then all of a sudden, that same structure doesn't apply into just normal everyday society.
Yes, sir.
Right. Well, I'll speak to my end, then I'll let Avery speak to his end, because my dad was a Vietnam vet. I was born on an Air Force base, but I didn't particularly serve.
Okay.
But the things that we have seen is that when they take these men or women into the boot camp and they, break them down, and then they build them back up and they train them for specific purposes. But once they have maybe seen combat, or maybe they're just getting out of the military, there's no unwinding back into public service, because you go from that platoon team-oriented mindset into what is culturally, a phenomenon throughout the world that is the American idea of you pull yourself up by your own bootstraps, and you that individualistic approach to life. And sometimes it takes you a little while to kind of unwind from that. But again, I didn't serve, but Avery could speak a lot more to that himself.
I can agree. I can agree to that, because, and even when you don't get back on track as fast as you would like to, that's when you pick up the habits. Now you're drinking because you call this job, and you're overqualified, you're underqualified, so you're like, all right, I'm gonna throw one back. Then you're throwing another one back. Then you're like, all right, I'm gonna just go walk out the door and walk to the store. Now you're talking to people who don't have anything going. Now you're in that environment that's just not conducive to what you need to have going on.
And it's just a cycle. So that's how you felt,
That's
right?
how I felt.
Were you depressed, and so you were drowning your sorrows by drinking, or is that deep down you had to know this isn't going to help me down the road, but at that moment because I went from a staff sergeant to getting back into the civilian sector, and I'm just like, wow, why can't this, why is anything moving at the rate that I want? I'm quick to just boom, boom, boom. It's different, I guess, right?
Yeah.
So you were used to the way it was as a staff sergeant.
Yes, sir.
Were there any, I'm trying to think of the different fields. I know many in law enforcement who came from military. I don't know if that's maybe a more structured setting. I don't know if you ever considered something like that. But I'm trying to think of the types of jobs in the private sector that would have even melded with what you did as a staff sergeant. I can't imagine.
Well, I did maintenance. So I was transitioning. I just had a lot to do with me not being patient as well. And I was drinking while I was active duty. So instead of me just shaking that habit, once I got out, I started drinking more because I didn't get the job that I wanted. And I just wasn't willing to settle for less. And it had a lot to do with my stubbornness, and that came with the drinking and stuff. And my wife was like, maybe if you just cut back on the drinking and focus on what we need to do. And I wasn't hearing that, because I was still kicking myself in the butt for not, really applying myself while I was active duty and not getting discharged.
One of the things with Avery, and again, Avery is an amazing individual. Avery went to Florida State. Avery, has all these mechanical backgrounds and everything. He's
got skills.
So you went in to service when you were 25, 26?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so he goes in, he serves 5 years, and then he comes out and he thinks, hey, I've got the education, I've got these skills, and I've been in the military. And it was kind of like what we were talking about during the break. This country, we're very supportive of our military, a lot of times in words. But then when our men and women get out, they wonder, well, I have given up all of this time, sometimes some of the younger and better years of our life in service, and some of these men and women come out and their bodies are completely beat up, and they think, well, now I'm going to have a step ahead, but really the resources and oftentimes the employment opportunities aren't there that you think that they should. Thankfully we have gotten some partnerships, here in the area with Heinz Furlong, for example, is one of our big sponsors. If you graduate our program, Heinz Furlong, which is a barge towing company here in Nashville, they'll hire you.
Go work on a tugboat.
They'll
Yes, sir.
bring.
I think that's cool. I think I'd love to do that. But that's an example, right?
Well, that's
Now, why
one
would
of
that
many
work? You were
examples.
telling me that was it 28 days on, 28 days off?
Yeah, they will pay you a great, wonderful salary, all your medical, dental benefits, retirement, everything, and you're working 6 months out of the year, 28 days on, 28 days off.
Up and down the Cumberland.
Up and
Pushing
down
barges.
the Cumberland.
Yes, sir.
And it's not just that, but you come on as a deckhand.
Yeah.
But then within a year, you can choose what type of program you want to be in, whether it's engineering or if you want to even be one of the captain's pilots. Look, the captain's pilots for this organization makes a large sum of money. More than about half of what the president of the United States makes.
Yeah, right, sure.
I mean, they do well, in that position, and they want to promote within. So no other organization is reaching out to different companies to try to help these guys get the employment that honestly I think they deserve, because they put their lives on credit for all of us.
That's the way I always look at it. There's a lot of rah-rah when you're there serving overseas. But then too often you come back and you forget about the veterans. And that's what really burns my britches, People say, thanks for your service, but, proof's in the pudding. I imagine you would say you wish almost your organization wasn't needed, because if the VA was able to do more, and the EVA does, I guess, what it can, it's an imperfect agency by a long shot.
They do what they can. I don't want to discount what the VA does.
Right.
Their social workers do a whole lot of work. What Avery has gone through, and he talked about with the RRTP program, has been wonderful. The medical services sometimes can lag for sure. They do what they can. They're not going into that work in the VA to get rich. That's for sure.
Right.
I wish we weren't needed, but we're going to be around as long as it takes until we get the job
Yeah,
done.
I've been around for 16 years. Avery, did you keep in touch with some of those that you served with at all? I don't know.
Yes.
It was 5 years. I mean, some maybe transitioned and, did fine. Others, do you know, have gone through difficult times? Or what was that like? Or what kind of contact do you have today?
I speak with Sergeant Stevenson, my first sergeant.
Yeah.
He was someone that really stood by my side and helped me a lot.
So he's still in the military?
Yeah, he's still active
But you
duty.
keep in touch. So was he aware of the troubles you were having?
Yeah, he was. He was definitely aware. He's the one who actually put the word up to make sure my paperwork said honorable, because he understood my situation.
Right.
So he had a lot to do with that.
And how big a deal is that, really? I mean, an dishonorable discharge is like a scarlet letter.
It's like having a felony on your record.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's not a good thing. You had some issues there, but he understood. That's wonderful. He understood what you were going through. And
understood
thought,
that,
look,
yeah.
this guy just needs some help. He's not a bad
sir.
person.
That part. He understood my work ethic as far as what I did at work had nothing to do with my disease, which was alcoholism. And so he saw he separated the two and made sure when he pushed my paperwork up, you're going to get another chance at life,
That's a big deal. Yeah. And the issues like his was the substance abuse and transitioning. Do you deal with both the physical and the mental issues that some? I mean, will you have some of these veterans that come in that have physical injuries, leg missing or things like that really make it difficult as well?
Our program in particular is more of a working program.
Okay.
Due to insurance issues. We can't take anyone that is like wheelchair bound or on a walker, that type of thing. In fact, I don't know of any program here that will allow that due to insurance things. So the veterans that come to us that are in the academy program, they're going to be able-bodied, that have the ability to work, go out and get their own employment. Now, you can have a disability and come to us through Project Advance, where, hey, I've just fallen on tough times. Can I get some help with some utilities, mortgage, rent, whatever that may be? Of course, yeah, absolutely, we'll help in that regard.
Okay, so mortgage, rent. I'm looking at some of the different things. Affordable housing. We touched on that earlier. You partner with Urban Housing Solutions, Prestige Point, First Nashville Realty Management, and others. What can they do? You guys can pay up to the first 2 months' rent for someone?
When you graduate if you graduate our academy program, we will cover that first month's all your security deposits.
Which is the biggie. That's the thing.
Right.
That's the hardest thing sometimes is your deposits and first and last month's rent. Who can shell out all that all at once?
Right. A gentleman that just graduated our program, we just helped him transition, and we did I think it came out to about $5,000 worth of the security deposits, and I think we actually paid a first and second months on that, just because he was with us for so long. He did such a wonderful job, and we were like, hey, we really want to make sure that we love you, but we don't want to see you again. We want you to be successful, right. And so, yeah, but we also will have realtors that will work with us that specialize in some of the VA benefits that these that our veterans get through their home loans and that type of thing.
Yeah. I see the apartment package. I like that. All right, so towels, bedding, cleaning, coffee pots, pillows.
Oh, pillows. We'll help provide beds, couches.
Furniture? Yeah.
Furniture, whatever.
Has that come to a situation with Avery, or are you in that? You're right now. Would he go into one of these programs potentially there?
Well, that's going to depend upon what he wants.
Yeah, you may not stay here, as you said. Right. You've got your wife and child.
Right. He's got a wife and child, and they're very established down in Chattanooga. So he may not need those services. But if he told us, hey, look, I'm moving back down to Chattanooga, hey, we need a couch, or we need a bed, or we need this, like, sure, we'll get that to you. We'll get you covered.
Okay. And again, with regard to the type of housing that's available around here, you say it's tough. A lot of those apartments, I mean, where do you look now? I mean, these realtors help you find some of them, but a lot of times they're not going to be able to find something in the Nashville area.
Right. The gentleman I was talking about that we helped most recently, that is now working full time for the VA in Murfreesboro, he actually had to move out past Murfreesboro.
Yeah, Murfreesboro. That's where I did the story. Those places were disappearing in Murfreesboro. Right. They're already gone here. And so he had to move further out.
Right.
Problem with that sometimes is then that pulls you away from wherever you're working.
Exactly. That's the issue that we deal with daily.
Yeah.
And sometimes we get some of these veterans that may be, they may be 60 plus years old.
Yeah. Okay. You're right.
And so now, what do we do with an aging veteran, right? That maybe has some difficulties in his or her background, and now we're trying to transition you into full-time housing and employment. It's tough. It's very difficult.
So as we go to the break, the range in age, then I didn't even think about that. Right. Okay, he's early 30s, I guess.
Yes, sir.
All the way up to, you have some veterans you're helping.
We have veterans right now. We have a veteran right now that's 70.
70. Wow. All right. Take a break on that note. Back with our final segment with our guests right after this. Stay with us.